We focus on research, programs, education, and also consulting practices to support entrepreneurship and specifically the creation of companies that are owned by their employees and have a culture of ownership. Well, there's a lot of different types of companies that are owned by their employees. And there's a number of benefits in doing this, and they don't come immediately just because a company has ownership by the employees, let's say equity ownership. But they do come with the culture of ownership when that's established in a company. And there'll be benefits that will be found by companies of all sizes, small, mid-size, large, any industry. And when these companies both have broad-based employee ownership, executive and non-executive, and the culture of ownership, what you'll find is typically they'll have higher wages, they'll have expanded benefits, lower turnover, they'll be more loyalty to the organization, and much more empowerment and engagement in making decisions throughout the organizations. We also have found through some research that we've supported that these organizations, they hire less people during boom times, but they actually lay off less people during recessionary times. Well, there's a number of obstacles. One of the things that we really want to address is awareness. Simply, people don't know the range of choices that they have in creating these companies or in transitioning from being a closely held or family-owned company to become an employee-owned company. So first is the awareness, and to really know what are the steps to take, what are the different choices of different ownership models, because there's no one size fits all. So we really want to get through that educational barrier. Now that not only again is entrepreneurs that are thinking of creating companies or business owners that have companies and looking at converting them, it's also the professional services. And that's accountants and lawyers that really need to understand the breadth of possibilities of how they can get their clients to become employee-owned companies or cooperatives. Well, let me start with awareness and education, because that's where I just left off. I think it would be fantastic if there was more systemic education on this at higher educational institutions. So that could be at business schools, engineering schools, political science, law schools, just so that the students are more aware, and also that there's more research being done in this area. And so that could mean additional philanthropic efforts. That could mean some leadership within these institutions to decide that this is the type of curriculum that they want to do, but also how does it fit in, because that's not an easy process. So where does it fit into the curriculum? Is it part of social enterprise? Is it part of strategy? All these things need to be very much led by the academic institutions. Now, in addition to that, there's a number of potential tax code issues that may incentivize more speculative use of equity, more executive compensation versus broader-based equity compensation. So one might, in that case, look at the deductions of incentive compensation and how that might be addressed so that you could have broader incentive compensation throughout the organization and have those deductions. We do have some tax credits now and some tax incentives to transition into ESOPs. We should keep those. We should look at how we might want to broaden those incentives. I'm going to go back to awareness, because I think there's another thing that could include government support, and that's having every state having a center where that center is a place where entrepreneurs can come, business owners can come, workers can come and learn about how to be a high-performing employee-owned company. There are 2 states right now, Vermont and Ohio, that have those centers. There's some work in the Rocky Mountain Center, but virtually this is something where we have every state that could get some additional funding, private sector funding and government funding to really shore these things up. There could be some additional funding available also from the government to support these kind of organizations. These kind of organizations, for example, have very low default rates. ESOP default rate is estimated to be less than 1%. So what kind of additional loan guarantees or funds could be created, probably at the decentralized, probably at the state level, to support the creation and the financing of these organizations. So that's just to name a few.